Well, the man sitting down right now is John Polis, and let me give you a little bit of his background. He was the USA press officer for the 1990 World Cup. He is the former director of communications for the U.S. Soccer Federation, and currently does some work with the Colorado Rapids in player development. Correct?
No, not player development, but usually on the digital side.
On the digital,
post-game stuff.
Perfect.
That's
We're
more
digital.
It kind of keeps my hand in what I used to do, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it has been.
Were you based down in Colorado Springs when you were working with
U.S. Soccer?
The soccer?
When I started, I was with Colorado Springs. Then I moved with them to Chicago, and then left them. Then went to a soccer manufacturing company called Umbro. I was with them for 6 years. So yeah.
Do you eat pizza?
You know what? I had lunch though, but thank you.
No.
That never stopped me
You guys
from
go
eating
ahead.
more.
You guys go ahead.
All right.
I ate just before I came.
All right,
Thank
John,
you.
obviously you know what's going on with FIFA.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, we've known that stuff's going on for years and years and years. Why now? Why is it coming out now?
Well, you guys will remember that we knew a lot about the International Olympic Committee too, way back when.
True.
When they had to clean things out, and I think why now? Well, the U.S. government noticed that some laws were broken by some people who were engaged in certain activities. This is all alleged, but once they realized that, they decided to file, an official suit. On this thing and take him to court. So I think yesterday when this was announced, it was a collective sigh from the soccer community around the world that, like you, has been aware of this. And it was like, let the games begin. You know, it's time to get this thing out in the open.
You both have been around for a while. The PED investigations involving Bonds and other people started because a federal authority officer was a baseball fan and said, I want to put an end to this. And that's basically how the court cases started, how you can reach to Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, talk about all that. I think that someone somewhere said, this is going on, and we can do something about it. I pointed out yesterday, Piers Morgan, who people know replaced Larry King as a guy on TV, writes a column in London, and he said, thank you to the United States. Europe wasn't, we didn't break anything.
Nope.
It's okay. But he said, thanks to the United States for coming to bail us out again, that apparently the Europeans were not interested enough to create an even bigger problem by raising this issue among the media, the fans, the authorities. Switzerland stepped up for the first time in history, it seems like, and actually got involved in a confrontation. So I know there's a lot there to
Was this a big deal? Was this not a big deal to soccer fans? I think that's what you're asking. Was it not a big deal?
No, I think it is a very big deal, especially those who have followed the game for years. Whether you're in the media, whether you're on the commercial side, or whether you're a big fan, everybody's been suspicious of FIFA and the way that championships are awarded. Of course, the biggest thing that popped up was when 2 World Cups were awarded simultaneously for 2018 and 2022, when we got Russia and Qatar. Were both awarded those World Cups, and that was unprecedented to do 2 like that. And then, of course, there's always been suspicions about FIFA's grant program, where they philanthropically present a lot of money to various national associations for the good of the game, to help them develop the game. There are countries that need money for infrastructure and for playing fields, etc. But they've been doing this for years, and people are suspicious that it's been money traded for votes. Those votes come with respect to future championships, World Cups, and then the election of the FIFA president, which is scheduled for tomorrow.
Which I'm not certain will happen at this point. But yesterday we had a debate about this.
Right.
He says there needs to be some overseer over FIFA. And I said, there can't be an overseer. The United Nations, they have their own problems. I think the only solution, and I would ask you for your solutions, you've followed it closely for years and years, is you got to get rid of Blatter. I mean, you've got to start and cut the head off the snake, and the body dies. Do you think there's any other solution, that there could be another
you need
committee?
to put mechanisms in place so that if the FIFA president is this guy again. I mean, there has to be a way to run him out of office. There has to be somebody overseeing this. I mean, in the U.S. government, we've got 3 branches, and they all oversee one another. In FIFA, there's nobody overseeing FIFA.
Well, there's nobody overseeing the International Olympic Committee either.
That's true.
So
they've been about as corrupt as
but
the soccer federation.
there is no higher authority. But there have been the way FIFA operates. It's one vote for one country, and so Montserrat has the same vote as the United States and Germany.
Country of
So
5,000 people.
yeah, and you go in and give a big grant to a small country, and maybe you've got their vote. That's the things that are being alleged. So new leadership is what's needed. It's almost a universal point made by sports writers, observers, federation presidents. Many have spoken out. Michel Platini, the president of UEFA, they've all made comments that it's time for new leadership. Originally, Mr. Blatter, who's going for his 5th term, was not going to run. And then all of a sudden he decided to run. So then they announced the 2 World Cups. And then there was a big report, you'll remember, that came out. Michael Garcia, an attorney from New York. That might be your key there, Woody, is that the attorney from New York who did the original investigation, and then when he wanted it published, they only let out a little bit. And that was all we found out about that. So,
well, it was sort of like the Kennedy assassination, and it was kind of studied, and everybody thought
Right.
the conspiracies, and it took Attorney General in Louisiana to actually create a court case. It didn't turn out proving things, but you bring that up, and I think, to address the point about the voters, that the European Federation is saying we're sending our votes to the opposition, which was not considered very much of an opposition to Blatter. But if the European community does band together tomorrow and they do hold a vote, I think if Blatter sees that it's going to be close or he has a possibility of losing, he's going to postpone it. As president, he say, there's too much going on, I want to postpone it, and gather his forces. But I think with the European Federation banding together, and they say they have 47, 48 votes. I don't know how many votes it really takes.
there's 209 votes.
So if they
209
gather
nations.
57 and the United States gets involved and our, quote, allies maybe around the world, but I don't know that they can get enough. But you brought up an interesting point to me, that is, if you say the representation must be that England gets 18 votes, and the United States gets 14 votes, and France gets 12 votes.
You're looking
and
at
Brazil
something
gets,
like an electoral college.
like the
That's what
House of
you're
Representatives,
suggesting,
something that
Right.
you could say, oh, your country of 5,000, you only get 1 vote, but Brazil gets 12 votes, as opposed to it. Is that a possible solution there?
Sure. If it's true that votes have been bought, they must figure out a way to prevent that from happening. And clearly this is the case.
Good luck with that, John.
That's
Well,
true.
if you dilute the votes
And
enough,
in
you
some
can't
countries,
buy everybody's vote.
well,
I
in
don't
some
think.
countries,
I don't know. We're talking about oil-rich
These are-
Middle Eastern countries.
these are commissions,
Yeah.
commissions that are paid, and in some countries that's not illegal. To put a little money behind.
Yeah.
That's okay
It's
some
the
places.
regular way of doing business.
That's correct.
Well, an example, take golf. PGA can't pay appearance fees. The rest of the world does. Well, that's why Dubai gets a great, great field for their golf tournament.
Mm-hmm.
If you're living, and you make an excellent observation there, if you're living by different sets of rules, then I don't know that there can be somebody that, if you're okay, if you are an African country and they're giving you grants and you're taking 50% of it for yourself, that's your rules. That's your rules. There's no rules in Africa about whether you can take graft or not.
I had lunch with Jack Warner about in the early '90s when I was down in Trinidad with the U.S. national team, and he was just kind of on the rise. But it's ironic because Jack Warner and Chuck Blazer were both compatriots in the CONCACAF office here, which is the Confederation of North America, Central America, and the Caribbean that we qualify through. And they were partners And when they both left the game, Chuck decided to go to the FBI and speak to them, and has admitted to wrongdoing, etc. So these two guys now are out, and a lot of us in soccer were kind of surprised that now they're going to, go for somebody like Warner, who's been out of football for 4 years. But
John,
yeah.
Key question here. We have a pretty good idea what's been going on. The people responsible are probably going away. And I'm wondering, is Russia in fact going to have the World Cup in 2018? And is Qatar, the country formerly known as Qatar, are they going to get the World Cup in 2022? What's your feeling on that? And does the U.S., if either of those two countries loses the World Cup, will the U.S. end up with one of them?
Let me answer the last one first. I think the U.S. was definitely in the driver's seat for either one of those World Cups. Most likely 2022, they finished second in the voting. So the answer is yes. And I believe they would be available for that. That's up to the U.S. Soccer Federation, of course. In terms of whether those World Cups will stay, I would say before this recent activity, I would have said absolutely yes. But we have to wait and see how the dynamics of all this plays out over the next few weeks, especially the vote tomorrow, if there's some kind of a postponement, or even if Blatter is reelected. If more sponsors drop out, as we expect, some of the big sponsors of the World Cup, then that could force his hand maybe. It's still a crapshoot, you know?
Yeah. That's the overseer you're talking about. If Visa and McDonald's,
Corporate pressure,
and Adidas, or all that. But the problem with that is there are a bunch of other companies that want in on the World Cup,
lining up,
and that's
sure. And if you drop out now and then you want to get back in later, is that going to be an issue? If the leadership changes over, I think, if somebody, who's running against Blatter is Ali bin Al Hussein, the Crown Prince of Jordan, who is the third son of King Hussein. He's 39 years old. If he were to get in there, I think he would have no other opportunity but saying, all right, we're starting over here, and let's put some things in place. There's a lot of people on that executive committee that want reform, and I think it's all set up for it. But
let's
John,
hope for a good vote.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming into the studio.
Thanks a lot, guys.
He's John Polis. He is the former director of communications for the U.S. Soccer Federation. Now does work with the Colorado Rapids.
Thank you, boys.
All right. And don't forget your pizza.
All right, I'll take that.
All right, John's appearance brought to you by
Take it home
Papa
and have it
John's.
tomorrow.
Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's.